Okay, so I was going to make this video once per year, but there's already been so many good releases this year, and there's been so many new products to me that I've been using a lot that I felt there was a need for this mid-year check-in. So I'm going to dig into all of those today. And the same as last time, not all of this stuff is brand new for this year, but it's either new to me or new to the channel in some way. First up on the list, and I can't believe I'm talking about another iPad stand, but here I am. This is from Tech, which I think is how you say it, I'm not sure, sorry for butchering the name, but it has an absolute killer feature. Not only is it magnetic, so you can stick your iPad on, but it also charges the iPad at the same time, which kind of gives it this pseudo MagSafe feeling, which is really, really nice. I feel like we've all wanted a stand which does this for ages and ages, and it's really nice to finally get it. It does it with the smart connector at the bottom here, and it basically tricks the iPad into thinking it's got a keyboard attached so it can accept power through there, but it's really, really useful. You can rotate this as well, so you can have it in either orientation, but also it rotates on its stand and it has a really satisfying click when it does. So I've been using this pretty much since I got it, and the only downside is the fact that it only works with the M4 iPad Pro series, so it won't work with the M2 or any of the earlier models, which is a real shame. And it does make me wish that Apple would just make an iPad stand. I feel like there's a real gap for it, and I'd love to see what Apple would do if they did end up making one. But that's my first pick. This has been awesome. Okay, next up, you're probably all expecting me to say the M4 iPad Pro, but I'm actually reserving judgment on that for a little bit longer. But I did want to give the next kind of award to the Apple Pencil Pro. I absolutely knew I was going to love this the second they announced it, and it has proven to be an awesome, awesome tool for the iPad. I really, really like it. It's really sped up my kind of entire iPad workflow, especially when it comes to things like taking notes and sketching. I can just use the pinch function to get a selection of tools and go back to where I was going rather than move all over the iPad to get the right tool that I need. It's also got things like barrel roll too, which is useful, and it's also got Find My, which is great. I've lost my Apple Pencil so many times and it's usually like stuck to a keyboard, or one time I put it on the fridge and I completely lost it because it's literally exactly the same weight. So having that built in as well has been awesome. It was just a wonderful upgrade that none of us were expecting and none of us knew we needed, but now it's here. I can't imagine using one of the other pencils. Again, the downsides though are that it only works with the newer iPads, so that's the M4 iPad Pros or the M2 iPad Airs. It doesn't work with any of the others. I think that's a huge bummer. I'd love to see everyone get access to this, but I still really like it. A really awesome little update. The next one on the list is probably one you did know was coming, and that is the M3 MacBook Air. This thing has been awesome. I just dropped a video on it, so I'll link it up here if you'd like to see it. But this has been an incredibly solid laptop and has kind of blown me away in every way possible. It handles all of my creative workflows. It's slimmer and lighter than the new iPad series when you've got the keyboard attached. And it's just a little portable kind of powerhouse for content creation. That's what I do on a daily basis. And the fact that I can kind of take this little laptop around with me and get all of my work done is just kind of crazy for me. And I know it's not perfect by a long shot. I think it will slow down for some people with thermal throttling. Yes, the fingerprints are still awful on this midnight color. And yes, starting at 8 GB of RAM is just really painfully low. Everyone knows that. But for all of the basic solid things, I would recommend kind of like 90% of people should probably look at the MacBook Airs over the Pros at the moment because they just do so much. And this M3 one, which I've been using for, well, I get 3 or 4 months now, has just been awesome. I find it really hard to kind of fault what I'm getting out of it performance-wise. I just wish it had more ports. Okay, this next one's a bit of a fun one, but I really have to mention it, even though I'm not huge on having something stuck to the back of my phone, and that is these Caseology MagSafe wallets. These are really cool because they're designed to look exactly like the Mac OS folders, and then you can slap them onto the back of your phone with MagSafe, and you get space for around 3 or 4 cards. If you're like kind of an Apple fan, or if you use a Mac or anything, these kind of hit you on like a weirdly nostalgic level, and they're just really cool. And they come in a bunch of different colorways to pick from as well, including this one, which makes it look like an Apple wallet. If you are the sort of person that has your wallet stuck to the back of your phone through MagSafe with something else, then these are worth looking at as well. They're really, really cool. I do think they kind of got the design idea from this artist on Instagram that was selling this as kind of like a wallet, so I'll link that below as well so you can see it. But this is kind of like a really cool and weird example of taking something that's digital and making it physical while kind of giving it the same features, if that makes sense. Yeah, really love these. Moving on from there is one that I mentioned in the What's in My Tech Bag video, but I've got to mention it here because it really has been one of my favorite things this year and I've used it so much. is this Moft snap-on tripod for your iPhone. Basically, this just snaps onto your iPhone and you can pull it out and you've got a quick, simple tripod for your phone. That's been crazy useful for me because I film so many reels and I take so many photos when I'm away filming something that's just become almost an everyday carry item for me. Like I say, I don't like having things stuck to my phone all the time, and this is so slim and tiny that I usually either just put it in my pocket or my coat pocket or put it into my bag, and it takes up no weight or space at all. Then if I need to film something or take a picture of myself with someone else, I can just flip out the tripod, pop my phone down and take that photo. Again, it's one of those things which I never really kind of thought I needed or sought out, but then when I got it, I was like, wow, how have I not been using this thing? It's really, really fantastic. You can use it in a bunch of different ways too, for like propping up your phone to watch something, and it's good for things like video calls and group photos and stuff like that. But for me, it's just been this simple travel tool which has been really helpful for content creation. I'm actually expanding this video a little bit to include games as well, because I play so many games and it's rare I get to talk about them. And I've played 2 this year which I've absolutely loved and I have to tell you about. And the first one of those is Hades 2. This is in early access at the moment, so you can only access it on PC or on Steam Deck, which is how I'm playing it. And this game has been absolutely fantastic. I've sunk over 30 hours into this, and it has been an incredible sequel to the first Hades. If you like that game, you will absolutely love this one. It's got better weapons than the first one, I think. I prefer the levels. The art direction is absolutely stunning and a real nice evolution of where it was in the first one. And I really, really love the new magic system. I think the whole thing works so well, and it constantly keeps you on your toes while you're playing. And the story and tone of the entire game is really well done. Supergiant clearly know how to make a good looking, good feeling game, and they've done it with here. Everything feels ultra tight and ultra together, and I just really, really like it. I was basically coming home from being in the studio every day and just doing 1 or 2 runs directly after work because I was so excited to get home and play it. And it's actually given me a reason to actually use the Steam Deck, which I still don't really like that much. It's not even finished yet, so I've completed everything I can pretty much do at this point, so I need to wait for the full release to come out. But if you've got a gaming PC or if you've got a Steam Deck, then this game's well worth picking up even in its early access phase. The second game I've really been loving is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for Nintendo Switch. Now, this is a re-release of a GameCube game which I never played. I've actually barely scratched the surface on Paper Mario games. I played a little bit of a 3DS one and didn't really get into it, but this one has been really, really awesome so far. It's actually just really funny as well. I've got to point out the writing here because Nintendo have kind of gone off the rails with this one, or they did back then, because it's just so funny and bizarre, and some of the references and some of the things that people say are just completely wild, and it's not what you'd expect from a Mario game at all. The gameplay is kind of classic JRPG stuff, which I'm not a huge fan on, but I find the combat in this game really fun. There's a bunch of stuff to do with timing, and the battles are still kind of retain this feeling of funniness as well, which it's just a laugh to play. And what I will say as well, despite the Switch being an old rickety device at this point which is in desperate need of an upgrade, this game looks absolutely stunning. If you were to show this to anybody at all who's into gaming or anything like that, they wouldn't blink at the graphics. This thing looks absolutely stunning. There are little bits of slowdown here and there, but because it's not a particularly fast-paced game, it's very, very difficult to notice. So those are the 2 games that I've been loving this year, but if you've got any recommendations for me, then leave them in the comments below. I am going to check out Animal Well on Steam Deck next. That looks really good, and then I'm going to move on to the Elden Ring DLC as well. Moving on from gaming, there's something kind of vaguely related which I wanted to talk about, and it's this keyboard. This is from Keychron. This is the Q2 Max, and if you've been watching this channel for a while, you'll know I've been using the lofi keyboards and I've been really happy with those for a long time, but I wanted to branch out a little bit this year and have a look at some others, and this one from Keychron has been really, really solid, and it's kind of taken over for a little bit now. It has Jupiter red switches which are linear, and I think I'm actually a linear guy now. I used to prefer the kind of tactile ones, but I actually think these sound nicer. But the thing which really attracted me to this keyboard was this knob on the side, which you can program to anything. Now, I've basically left this on volume, which is the default of what it's attached to, because that's the most useful tool for me when I'm working here in the office and studio, but you can program it to anything. I'm going to have a look at some stuff for video editing and maybe scrubbing the timeline and things like that, but honestly, having it as a quick volume slider is really useful. And the knob presses in as well, which is acting as a mute at the moment. I'm only using this for productivity work. There's no gaming or anything like that I'm using it for, but I'm sure it would be good for it. And as you'll probably already guess, I love the colorway. I love these greens that kind of match the studio as well. So it just fits right into my setup. And yeah, I really love the feeling of this keyboard, so I had to include this one too. Moving on is something which absolutely didn't come out this year, but it's something which I've been enjoying this year and I finally managed to pick one up. And that's a MoonSwatch. I talked about this briefly in a previous video, but I have been trying to get one for such a long time. I didn't want to go on eBay or anything like that because I just didn't trust them. And when I went to London a few months ago, I finally went into a Swatch store and they finally had one. And this is the Mission to Jupiter. It's kind of like a beige look. And honestly, I've got a lot of watches at this point. It's slowly turning into its own problem, but this is the one I get asked about the most. Lots of people seem to know what they are, or they look out for them, or they recognize it from like an internet article or something like that. And we often have a conversation about it, which is really, really nice. I actually changed the strap on it because the straps you get with them, I think, are a little bit lame looking. And this one is from Bark & Jack. It's the Desert Sand one, which just kind of completes the whole look of the watch. And I'm not a huge wearer of the Apple Watch anymore. I'll talk about that at some other point in another video, but this has just been wonderful. And like, I know these are overpriced for what they are and no real watch fan would like them or anything like that, but I don't really care. This has helped me get into watches and helped me explore the hobby and kind of spend too much money on them. So I've got a lot of love for the MoonSwatch, and I think the new ones look really nice too. Okay, let's round out the set of the last one. And the last one I've been loving this year, and I'm so happy I backed it on Kickstarter and everything, is this Peter McKinnon Go-Matic Luma bag, or it's called Go-Matic here in the UK. I have been struggling with bags for the longest time, which I know is a ridiculous issue to have. I've had the Pete Design one, I've had a Wandered one, I've had some Fjällräven ones, I had some Innertech ones, and even the great folks at Moment sent me out some ones to check, but honestly none of them did it for me. But I finally found the one I really like. This is actually quite a lot smaller than a lot of other camera bags out there. It's only 18 litres, but for me, for what I'm carrying around now, that's absolutely fine. And that's what I was really missing from all of those other bags. They were either too big or too complicated or didn't hold everything how I wanted it to. But this one's great. It opens from the back. It's got loads of modularity for kind of deciding how you want your cameras to go, or just general stuff. It's got a bunch of kind of nice little pockets at the top, and I really, really like having this top access so I can just get into a small pocket whenever I need anything really quickly. And despite its smallish size, it's been perfect for all the travel I've been on. For the few times I've been to London and had to film like a whole series of events or anything like that, this is the bag I've used, and it's held everything. It's been really, really good. My only regret is still the same regret I had before. I wish I'd just bought the black one and not the green one, because green doesn't go with everything and black goes with everything. And it also looks a bit more stealthy, but there you go. So there you go, there's a roundup of all the tech that I've been loving for the mid-year. I will update this video at the end of the year with kind of the overall rankings of the stuff I've really, really liked. But yeah, there's just so much on this list that I had to make this video. Anyway, if there's anything that you've been really enjoying tech-wise, or anything kind of EDC-wise or anything like that, let me know in the comments below. I always love to see what you're using and how you're using it. And of course, I'll see you all in the next one.